Welcome back, listeners, to the BizBlend podcast, the space where business wisdom meets real world business. Messiness and transformation is more than just a buzzword, it is a lived experience. Now, today's episode is for every entrepreneur, founder, and leader who has been told, just start or just post it. And they kept wondering, but how? How do I figure it out? How do I start? Now, we are pulling back the curtain, listeners, on the emotional reality of starting and growing a business, the doubt, the awkwardness, the unpredictability, that fear, and why waiting until you are ready can actually hold you back. Listeners, joining me is Leslie and Kellie, powerhouse founders of Metamorphosis Studios, a consulting firm that lives transformation. Now, they don't just strategize from the sidelines, they build it, launch it, fix it when it breaks. They have steered complex projects like buy online, pick up in store, same day delivery, HRIS overhauls, and many more. And this conversation, it is raw, radically honest, and exactly what every leader, innovator, and disruptor needs to hear. So, whether you are juggling a startup, managing a team, or even navigating motherhood and business, which let's be real, it feels pretty similar. This one is for you. So, with that, Kellie and Leslie, welcome to the show, and it is an extreme honor to have both of you with us today.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to be on this podcast today with you. So thank you. We're excited.
Lovely, lovely. Thanks, Kellie. Thanks, Leslie. So let's begin. I mean, I love how you describe transformation as something you build and then fix, not just, plan for it. So, when you look back at your early days, what was the first awkward, messy step you took that, kind of felt so unready, but that was absolutely necessary?
That's a great starting question. I'm going to start and then I bet Leslie's going to chime in here too. But
Yeah.
I think for us, especially with starting the Metamorphosis Studios, we started messy because it started out of a bit of chaos unintentionally, meaning we were both laid off from our big executive corporate roles on the same day back in September of 2024. And we had always been talking, we'd go out to dinner. We're close friends for over 20 years. We've worked together for the same amount of time. And we always kept thinking about what it would be like to make that big leap and start something on our own. And so we felt that with us both having this experience on the same day, that it was kind of the universe shaking our shoulders and saying, "Hey, it's time. Like now is time. There's no planning needed. Just get in there, jump in feet first and really start to create the experience that you want for your customers, which is one that we know that we can curate based off of our 20 plus years in retail and executive positions."
Yeah, I agree. The idea that you're ever going to be ready, like if we think about everything in life, like when are you ever ready to have kids, or when are you ever really ready to take on something that feels uncomfortable? Because if it if you were ready, it wouldn't feel uncomfortable, and uncomfortable is where the magic happens, which I know is such a cliche statement, but the discomfort is what forces you to do things or look at things or ask questions or save yourself. Like it it definitely was, you think it's not the way you wanna start, and then it turns out to be the best way you could have started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Time is so powerful. I mean, yes, the beginnings can be messy. Um, the worst moments can give birth to the best phases of your journey. So, to Kellie, how did you how did you push through that inner voice that wanted everything perfect? Before launching. I mean, even if it was there. I mean, and this question is to both of you, but Kellie and then Leslie. Yeah.
I think it's a great one because especially starting with me, we chuckle all the time about how if I could have a perfect world, I would have my entire life spreadsheeted out for every plan by plan, line by line, detail executed flawlessly. And we all know that that is not the way life works. So this was a true test for me of real transformation, meaning every day we are learning something new as business owners. And there's transferable skills from what we did as executives in big organizations, but there's also these areas of, oh my goodness, it's just us. We don't have those big teams we had in the world of corporate. And there's brand new things that we need to learn, like creating our website. And it sounds silly, but these things really do start to bend your learning curve in a way that it feels uncomfortable, but yet it's so exciting because you're starting to flex muscles in your brain and in practice that I personally had never done before, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment, but
Yep.
it's a little scary too. So it's a bit of we call it our emotional roller coaster, of being, in the world of entrepreneurial life. And, as I swing low, Leslie swings high, so we keep each other encouraged day to day in our partnership.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Let's
what's funny is the
Mhm.
her and you said inner voice wanting things to be perfect, and Kelly talks about wanting to lay everything out on a spreadsheet, and it's kind of ironic that in our partnership, my inner voice is the one that just says, "Go." Like, I I I rewind and start writing things down after 17 things have been accomplished, and I have the desk that looks like chaos, but I know exactly where everything is. And I just am like, go, do, try. It doesn't mean that it's not scary because, by the way, I think that reaction is it's more uncomfortable to sit still than it is to take action. So just do it. So it's been an interesting harmony, I'd say, between Kelly and I in the fact that we do things differently, but then it causes the other one to be curious, and she'll either save me from walking off a cliff by being like, "Hold on, let's organize that first," or sometimes I might be like, "Who cares? Let's just do it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? We are each other's worst judges, and that's the worst that's gonna happen."
Well, that is I can so connect with that. I mean, the journey which I started, or let's talk about this podcast. Healthy Mind by Avik started was, so Avik also, we kind of had this beginning just right after the layoff, and again, the beginning was really messy. It was scary.
Mm.
you know, going through days and nights, endless days and nights, strategizing, brainstorming, discussing. So Avik was kind of executing everything, and I was contributing to probably any creative or any business related outputs, sorry, inputs. It's kind of that harmony which is created, and even if um, he's like, okay, let's do this, you know, someone is there, kind of a critic or a not exactly judge, but critic there. Okay, let's be careful. Yes, let's do this, but let's also be mindful about these factors. If I feel something isn't working out, let's brainstorm once again and then let's quickly execute. Go ahead with it. So I absolutely love how this equation is balanced and harmonized. Okay. Okay. So, Kelly, overthinking content is something we all do. I have done. We all have done, especially when we feel like the stakes are really, really high. So, what advice do you give to founders who kind of, get into that paralysis by waiting for that right moment, right message, or maybe the right perfect LinkedIn post or something like that?
It's a great one because I think it's so easy to fall into the trap and the cycle of overthinking. I definitely fall into that. That's a bit of kryptonite for me personally, but I would say that some of the tactics that I've started to tap into are actually with the and I liked how you staged it before about the harmony, right? Of it all, like taking my physical presence and placing it into a new environment, even if that means just getting away from my screen for a few, going on a walk outside, taking in nature, and allowing my thoughts to kind of organically settle down. There's clarity that comes with that, and it doesn't have to be that, it could be something else, but something that allows you to quickly shift and be able to get out of that, for me, sometimes it's doom cycling and, like, spinning in my brain, and being able to kind of reset and recalibrate before I come back and say, "Okay, let's just, you know, press on the gas and let's get this going." It might not be perfect, but we're going to live and learn as we put this product out there, as we do this thing for this client.
Mm. Yeah, definitely, that is you. That is you. And Leslie, if you would like to add anything to it.
Yeah, I think, the art of being authentic or maybe the power of being authentically you definitely will resonate. I think before you were talking about the, um, either judgment or criticism, and I think it's been a phrase that's been around for a while, but the more that we've had to do this on our own, the more it has become true of, like, no matter what you do, someone is going to judge and someone is going to have an opinion, and the opinion that matters the most is yours. And the fact that if you are showing up to represent yourself, your work, your ideas, whatever it is, in a way that is authentically you. I think about whether public speakers or authors, right? There's all these different people that we are drawn to and have a preference of. Your favorite author might not be my favorite author. Well, I'm not everybody's cup of tea either. So as long as I show up who I am and what I stand for, I will attract the right people for me and vice versa.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I mean, the question is for both of you. Can you share a time when something imperfect that you shared actually resonated more because of its honesty, its rawness?
It's a good one. I think there's a level of authenticity that and realness that Leslie and I take as our approach and almost our mission and our values associated to the Metamorphosis Studios, that just kind of organically flows in our day to day. Meaning, we really live and die by the fact that we want to make sure that every interaction we have with anybody, any meeting, any new potential clients, any current clients, and just people in our day to day lives, we want to leave them better than we found them. And I think by kind of having that as our North Star guidance in this world, it allows us to be approachable, and it allows us to have a level of authenticity in all of our interactions that just creates really open and transparent communication, and really allows people, I think, to feel comfortable that they have an audience that's going to actively listen, understand what problems they might be trying to solve or what help they need, and us then have the ability to really diagnose and be able to roll up our sleeves and help them get it done together, so that when we do, whether it's, the finish of our project or the finish of our time with them, they're able to, walk this earth being, better off that they were engaging with us.
Yeah, I also think about this is like super specific, but earlier you were asking about, posting stuff or putting your content out there in whatever format it is. My example would be very specific, but it's funny that one day Kelly and I decided to share some like behind the scenes bloopers of the work we were doing. And when I tell you the amount of people that said it made their day, they felt like they were there with us. They felt like this energy and like the responsiveness to literally showing where we don't get it right and being vulnerable enough to show up and show where we don't get it right. had this response that was disproportionate to anything I would have expected.
Mm, yeah, I can connect with that. Ah, okay, great. Okay, now I mean, you both have led massive transformation in corporations. I mean, there's buy online, pick up in store, HR systems. I mean, those are no small feats there. But how do you help leaders navigate this emotional roller coaster of change, especially when they feel out of control? Because some leadership models, traditionally have been focusing heavily on process, structure, almost kind of sidelining emotions.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think there's power in their people, meaning actively listening to your people, listening to the real humans that every day step into that building and do the amazing jobs that help make everything happen for your organization. And there's power to those people and their opinions and their ideas, and being able to be a leader that is open to great feedback from your team to be able to continuously improve how this company can take care of those people and create and foster an environment of support. It will allow your team to be at their best every day, to show up to do the best job. And that will organically allow your organization to thrive and to grow. And you'll see it in, all of your P&Ls and your sales. Like, it just comes as a natural byproduct of really putting your people first. And I think a lot of companies do a really good job of putting that on really cool PowerPoints and signs in the office that talk about how important their people are. But it lives and breathes in the day-to-day actions and the way that they actually listen to their people.
Right. That's so right.
I also
Yes.
think it yes, I also think advising them on to what degree are you actually getting out there and talking to your people? And I say your people, I mean, if I was talking to a CEO, I would be like, "So, not your SVP, not your VP, maybe not even your director. Like, when's the last time you took 15 minutes to talk to one of the managers on the team that's actually having to figure out how to take the business requirements and translate them into requirements that your team knows how to build against? And how do you know that you're testing against the right things? And then once it actually flows to the customer, sometimes I think people get caught up in building what they think they need because it will drive their needs, but it might fall flat because once it's out there for the customer might say, "Well, this is cool, but this is not what I needed." And, like, if you've gotten that far, you're a little bit already in trouble, but, um, I don't know, I think Kelly's point about we can talk a good talk and put it on a piece of paper, but what are the actions and timing that you're committing to? And then where's the humility? Um, because there's a lot of ideating and strategizing on what sounds good in theory to either drive sales or drive new customer acquisition or increase customer loyalty or trips or all the metrics that we can throw out there. Um, but do you know how to live it? Like, we've worked in organizations where title didn't matter and
Mhm.
those people would get out, if it's a brick and mortar retailer, get out there on the sales floor and talk to customers, pick up trash off the floor. Like, there's got to be a level of humility and connectedness that goes beyond a conversation. I think they, wanna be part of the planning and the strategy conversation, and that's where it stops, and that to me is the danger zone, it can't stop there.
Definitely, definitely. That is quite pragmatic, and I do believe, because now we are gradually embracing the emotional side of, when it comes to leadership. Yeah, I mean, metrics, data, and reports, slides, and everything, they do matter because they help us in getting a structured view of, let's say, PI. planning for a course correction. However, I think intuition, then, having that empathy. I have had lots of conversations on servant leadership. So I think, with more and more conversations like this, and the new age of business bringing this concept into it, I think, we are in that, process to embrace. So I really am kind of bullish for getting the emotion into the boardrooms in there. Let's see how it goes. But thank you to both of you for sharing your views on this. And now this is my favorite question. Motherhood and business. They both have this in common. No matter how many parenting books you read, no matter how many advices you receive, you are never fully prepared. Almost haven't yet had the bliss of motherhood. However, every time I see my friends or my colleagues embracing that, I have seen my mother. So it's a different, it's the uncharted waters. So, how has motherhood, or rather working with mothers, shaped both of your approach to business transformation?
This is also my favorite question. So I have a unique motherhood experience in the sense that I had the opportunity to become a bonus mom to three wonderful and beautiful kids. And talk about not being ready. That happened practically overnight as I met their dad and started, my relationship with him. And so talking about like we did earlier about jumping right in feet first and just kind of taking it day by day, that's absolutely how I was able to approach it. And I think the most beautiful lesson that I got was that if you really every day approach everything around love and how I can help that other person, it organically becomes a routine that you're very good at. My kids are now all grown and they constantly tell me about these little details of things that I used to do that really showed them that in practice, down to leaving them little funny notes in their lunch. Like, it's that simple, right? But there's millions of those moments in each day that really make it so special and so unique to be a mother figure in someone else's life. So to me, I try to take that same practice and put it into the way we approach our clients and the way that we look at our business and the growth of it. So it's a very special and unique way to be able to approach our business as such.
Definitely. Leslie? Good.
For me, it's like it's patience and perspective that
Mhm.
without becoming a mom, maybe I would have learned the lesson some other way. I can't
Mhm.
say that I wouldn't have, but um the perspective you gain instantly is wild, undescribable, and I don't know um that you can know it without doing it. Again, maybe there could have been another lesson. Um, and I think just realizing the art of the possible, because when you become a mom and you still have your own passions, like I think there's a lot of women that can identify with, like, I love being a mom. I do because of what it taught me, but I don't wanna give up myself in that journey either, and the woman that I am as a daughter, as a mother, as a friend, as an individual, the things I have a passion for, like, they all play their own role, and as you add more roles or when you all of a sudden become a mother, there's this new role that you're trying to figure out how to navigate. If you really are still passionate about your other things, you'll realize you're going to figure out a way to get them done. And you're going to figure out how to get them done, even when on the way to work, your son decides to throw up in his car seat on the way to work and derail your entire day. But there's things that have to get done. But he's also the most important thing in the world. And somehow you figure out how to get it done. And somehow over time, you realize again the art of the possible, and things that once seemed difficult are now minuscule in this universe, and some things can also become laughable, and your ability to prioritize. But I also think your ability to roll up your sleeves and just figure out how to get it done. I've been able to transfer all that to how when I work with other people and realizing how you work and how I work might be different, but I can now respect your methods and have patience for your methods as long as the outcome is there. So it's been a wild journey, one that I wouldn't trade for anything, but definitely a huge, huge learning by having kids.
Definitely. Okay, so before we wrap up, Kelly and Leslie, you both talk about execution is everything. So, for all of our listeners, our entrepreneur business friends out there who have big visions, but deep down they feel kind of stuck in there, where do they start? I mean, how do they move from dreaming to doing without losing momentum? Because it can really, really feel scary and, emotionally and physically tired. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is a great one. It's so important. There some of the things that we've been able to tap into to help with some of those feelings is really number one, find an accountability partner. Find somebody in your life that you can share your goals with. You can, talk through some of those emotions that kind of come with the day to day, and be able to, whether even sometimes journaling about that, it really helps to navigate some of the wild ebbs and flows of what comes emotionally with starting this. But the biggest piece of advice is just jump out of that brain and just go and do. And again, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay because the beauty of starting today versus waiting and starting 6 months from now is that if you start today, 6 months from now, you've got 6 months of practice that you've actively done and you've learned and you've grown. And chances are your business is probably at a much better state because of that. So just jump right in and don't be afraid.
Absolutely. That is really inspiring, Kelly. Leslie, you are, like just do it. So what's, any small actionable step you would, recommend, and I mean suggest someone can take today.
Yeah, I'm laughing because if someone could see the notes that I was doodling, the words that I wrote down, and 17 seconds later, the words coming out of Kelly's mouth, um, they, like, match. But I wrote down things like, "Just do it, practice." Like, I think what's interesting is, and this is a good problem to have, I think people are nervous because it's officially, like, their personal brand, and it's them, right? Whereas if I were to take a step back and say, "But go back to a time and place where maybe you were working for somebody else and you realized, you know what? My time is up. I'm not growing here. I'm not learning here. It's not serving you, right? For whatever reason, you decide where you're at is not where you want to be. And so you decide to start job searching. There are times where people will say, I'm going to apply to these types of jobs. Hopefully, maybe I get an interview and maybe it'll let me like break my nerves and let me interview with someone before I get in front of that real big dream job that I'm really hoping for. Like never practice on where you ultimately want to be, but like try something. Try pursuing a client that is worth risking. And I hate saying it that way because we would all love to land any client, like except for us. We love helping the small guys, the big guys, everything in between. But like it is just about just doing it. The time is going to pass anyway. I joke around and say it's almost like starting a diet, like, or starting an exercise routine. Like, the more you put it off, that could have been 2 weeks you could have been walking on the treadmill, 4 weeks you could have been walking on the treadmill. Like, the muscle will build, and we get so myopic when it's our own business and stop realizing the life lessons that exist all around us when we either worked for someone else, how we eat, how we exercise, the routines of getting up in the morning, when you shower. I joke around that like my son cannot brush his teeth until his shirt is on. Like that's routine, right? But then all of a sudden when we're doing our own business, we forget that routine matters, or we forget that practice or building the muscle and doing 12 reps 3 times a week will help you move the weight up. Like there are just some fundamental life lessons that apply, and it doesn't matter how scary it is. Just do it. We promise it'll be worth it.
Well, super. So, Kellie and Leslie, before we wrap up, if our listeners would like to connect with both of you and explore more about Metamorphosis and the work you are doing, the BTS stuff and everything, what's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. They can visit us at www.themetamorphosisstudios.com. We also are on LinkedIn as the Metamorphosis Studios. We post daily content. It's a lot of fun. We have a great time with it. So connect with us on LinkedIn, check out our website, and our contact information is located on our website. So very easy to get a hold of us.
Lovely. I'll make sure to have all the details in the show notes. And this was such a power packed, no fluff conversation. Leslie and Kellie, thank you to both of you for reminding personally me, and I'm very, very confident, super confident, all of our listeners that business isn't just about waiting for perfection. It is about showing up, just doing it, even when it is messy. So thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And to all of our listeners out there, I hope this conversation stirred something within you. Whether it is that idea you have been sitting on too long, or probably the project you have been overthinking, or the client you have been thinking to pursue, this is your sign. Start before you feel ready. Business, like life, it is messy, it is unpredictable, but it's always worth it. Until next time, keep blending strategy with soul, courage with action on BizBlend. Thank you.